Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal Podcast Wednesday night edition. I normally don't do a show on Wednesday night, but tonight is a great night to do a show, and I've got a great team sitting in the back. I have the Spirit Mechanix backstage. Steven and Pat, we'll be talking to them. I like to holler out to a few other people, All Access Network Television. Thanks for everything that you guys do. And we'll catch you in a little while. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the Spirit Mechanix. Hey, guys.
Hello.
How you guys doing? Yeah, no problem, guys. I'm glad to have you on. I've been looking forward to having you guys on for a while. So we'll start out this with a question I normally ask. We'll start with ladies first. We'll start out with ladies first. Pat, how did you get involved in the paranormal?
So I bought a very haunted house in Texas and ended up not really digging that situation. So I actually found Spirit Mechanix through a friend, and they've just kind of been stuck with me since. Ever since then, though, it's been, okay, well, looking back at these pictures of this old house, wow, you can really see this really ridiculous stuff just even in the pictures from it. But now we do stuff like go to the Ross Opera House, and we have other paranormal things that we do, and that's just kind of how I got actually started in it, was through Spirit Mechanix.
So let me ask you, what was so massive about the house that made you at edge?
Have you ever seen the animated movie Monster House?
Yeah, I think I remember my kids watching it. Yeah.
It looked just like that.
Oh, wow.
This house was originally the county schoolhouse back in the 1800s. And had been moved to this plot of property that was originally like 100 acres that had been split up. And come to find out that not only had the original schoolhouse been moved there, but people had died on the property, and there had been a whole bunch of other hullabaloo. There were creepy chairs in the place when we bought it. It was a whole thing. You know, you could feel the... people coming over would not want to walk inside just because it was that creepy. And that was people that weren't sensitive or, investigators or anything along those lines.
I mean, she has family and friends that, to the rest of us, will literally call this place the murder house.
Yes.
Wow. That's definitely interesting. Did anything actually happen in the house that you're aware of?
Oh, yeah. Like stuff that I saw and experienced, or stuff that I was able to actually find that it happened?
Both.
So starting with the evidence, actually, did some research and found out that there had been a really abusive school teacher that used to teach at that schoolhouse. The original owner of the land was, one of the things that he put in the will was that he didn't want the land broken up. And the land got broken up. So those were two things that were awesome. Also found out that somebody had actually OD'd and had been poaching animals off of the land next door and dragging them underneath the house after they were done cutting them up and, getting the meat off of everything, because it was deer. So there were actual bones that were found underneath the house by my husky. That was all of the actual evidence. Got out as soon as could. That house was not awesome.
Welcome to Texas.
I hope they were only animal bones, right?
They were only animal bones. But that was actually how the previous owner had been hiding the fact that he was poaching deer from, the surrounding properties, was that, would drag him over to the slice that he had and take care of everything. So it was wild. But one of the early experiences that I had was I was laying in bed and I looked up and around And coming down from underneath the staircase was this really shadowy black figure that was crawling upside down and stopped right before the room and just stared at me while I slept.
Interesting.
Not the word I would use.
I've seen shadow things come across the room before, and etc. I was laying in a bed one time in one of my old houses, and the weird thing is, I was laying on the mattress, and the thing, I felt it push me down in the mattress. I sunk in the mattress. Not that, what the hell? And my daughter's already seen shadow figures walking through the house, so I figured it was pretty much all related at that time. So,
yeah,
but yeah, interesting.
I understand. The cats went upstairs by myself, and it was a whole thing. You could feel the difference in the add-ons for the house from where the original schoolhouse was, but there was actually original chairs upstairs from the schoolhouse.
Wow, that's so you felt the heavy feeling in one section, and then it got lighter toward the end where the new stuff was all on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because then it kind of confuses you to what's actually in there at times.
Yeah.
What about you, Stefan?
Stefan. We can be friends. A lot of people call me that. But as far as what got me into the paranormal, my whole family lineage is in the middle of it in some way, shape, or fashion, whether that is native inclinations or more towards the Scotch-Irish inclinations, or most definitely the Appalachian inclinations, as far as, hoodoo and magic and seeing particular entities and dealing with particular entities. But I was born blind with congenital cataracts, and 13 surgeries later, I'm legally blind. I have enough vision to know that I can't see. And for the longest time, everything, and even on certain days where my eyes are really not wanting to cooperate, everything looks like a kid's finger painting. I see movement, I see light sources, I see color, and that's pretty much about it. And even when I was younger, certain things would come in crystal clear. Certain animals that no one else could see or interact with, and different types of shadows, different types of mists. I would see people walking that no one else would notice. And I just thought it was normal. Okay, well, I'm visually impaired. Maybe they're at just the right spot to where my vision is actually catching them. No one else could catch it. No one else knew what the hell I was talking about. Flash forward, a little bit, I was in the middle of doing music ministry and a little bit of youth, and was getting into associate pastoring. And I went to my religious leader and was explaining all this. Look, I experienced these things and noticed these things. Can you give me some kind of insight here as to what's going on? And they basically told me, never talk about it. Leave it alone. Don't ever talk about it. Only apostles of God can do that, and it's not for everybody else. And flash forward again a couple years, and I'm in the middle of a Sunday school deal with a new pastor. And he looks at me and he goes, I want you to explain to these other gentlemen exactly the reasons why people your age refuse to come to church. And I looked at him, I'm like, you don't want me to answer this? And he smiled and said, yes, I do. So I proceeded to explain the reason why. Left all of those old men white and with jaws on the ground, went upstairs, started to listen to the sermon. Everything goes silent. And I feel a hand on my shoulder. And I was told, you're not meant for a pew. Go and show others I exist through action, not through words. And I haven't been back to a pulpit or a pew since. as far as getting into anything heavier, I started learning about what it is that I could do. I started learning energy alchemy, Reiki, different magical practices, and esoterics from my teacher, Charles Marlar. And that was around 15 is when I started, and then went up until just about 10 years ago with working with him directly. Uh, and it's just been one roller coaster ride since.
Wow. So, do you feel that your sight is giving you more of a gift with being able to work with energy and stuff like that as an insight?
Uh, as far as more of a gift, I'm not sure. Um, because the way that I view it is everybody is capable of doing what it is that I do. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to and whether or not you're trained to. But um, a lot of people refer to me as the metaphysical daredevil
That's cool.
because the way that your clairs work is they mirror what your physical senses actually do for you. So I'm a clairaudient first, where I echolocate. So I'm able to hear what's there first, and it sounds to me like a musical note. And I can tell by that musical note exactly what it is, what's going on with it, and why it's there, and then move the direction where the sound is most intense and watch for the heat waves to flex, kind of like like a speaker. And as I see that, things start to come more into focus, and I'm able to actually see an entity or a type of energy or another human spirit, an animal. Uh, I have a different way of seeing things, but to me, everybody has a different way of seeing things. So,
That's awesome. Me and you have something in common with being able to see the energy then, because I've only seen like one full apparition in my entire life, and that was my girlfriend that passed away about a few days after she had passed. I seen her standing in my dining room full figure, and that's the first one I've ever seen full figured stand right in front of me. And we actually had a conversation, and she went on, but she's always with me. And every time I go to make a decision, she'll tap me on the shoulder, right or left, so I know I'm making a good decision or not. And she'll be bebopping along the car, because the car will shift. If you know, when you're riding in a car, that little odd movement of your car because something's wiggling or jiggling or whatever, you can tell she's sitting there bebopping to some of the music when I play it there, and she's always there. But she's the first full one I've actually ever seen that way. But as in energy wise, when I see a spirit, that's where me and you have something in common, as in the fact it looks like an energy wave coming off of a hot asphalt. And that's how I see it. And then I can actually put my hand in it, and I can actually feel that energy around my hand and tell what it is and what's going on with it. So that's something that sounds like me and you have a lot in common with. That's really cool. At least I think it's interesting, especially when we go into buildings and houses, that we can do that, because we can kind of pinpoint where things are when it happens. Wow. You're the first one I've heard to say that they've seen it kind of like I do. So that's interesting. I like that. We'll have to have another conversation here along.
absolutely.
Definitely interesting. Equipment. What kind of equipment do you guys like to use when you go out?
Speaking for myself, my favorite thing is actually something called a vortex dome. And okay. I don't have one with us right now, but what it does is it lights up all the way around and in the middle when something interacts with it, but it doesn't pick up on, if you get close to it with static or with your phone, it actually interacts. It allows different spirits and potentially even entities to interact without having the EMF be an issue or a concern.
They essentially have to touch it
Mm-hmm.
in order for it to work. It's not necessary. Technically, it would be like a REM pod, but it doesn't react the same way.
Not at all. And so it's got different colors all the way around it. I think it's blue, red, green, yellow, and orange.
Blue, green, red, and orange.
And so you can actually use it to yes, no if you want, or if you've got someone that's being extremely interactive, they can go all the way around and get that confirmation for you. So that's actually one of my favorite things to use, because it's something that would be arguably super simple, but is super, super effective.
We've gotten some, especially with her working with it, we've actually got some footage on YouTube in a couple of different places where you can get an actual intelligent response, because you can tell them, go all the way around, or even show me this color.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not just okay, well, they're touching the thing. Awesome. You can literally show me this color.
Yeah.
And okay. And then go all the way around for me. Okay. If you wouldn't like this, or you want to talk about this, or you want us to attempt this, do these things. And it's pretty awesome, actually. It's a pretty cool little device.
That's awesome. I'd like to give a big shout out here to Dallas Swanson. He's in the audience watching, and Marla Meacham. She's part of my team.
Awesome.
They're on my personal page. I can't see any notes from that page. So if you want to ask any questions, go to the team page or the YouTube page and type in your questions.
Absolutely.
And we'll answer them live right here. I'm showing on my personal page, and for some reason it doesn't like to pick up comments from there, and I don't know why. And I've been worked on it for several times, and it still don't work.
Technology is as technology does.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I like that. Location wise, what's a location that you guys have experienced something that's very interesting?
So one of mine, one of the things that we're known for is doing what we refer to as house calls. And during these events, it's usually after the paranormal investigation has happened. We usually come in after the fact to make sure that the negative things are handled. Mm-hmm. And we used to, at one point, we were working with Miss Amy Allen of the Dead Files, and we took on a couple of her cases where, she asked for specific practitioners to come in and do. Well, Spirit Mechanix is a host of different practitioners that could have fit the bill. So she would call us in, and we would take care of it. And this was a case up in Ohio. It was up in Hamilton, Ohio. And it's probably one of my favorite cases. But the spirit would walk in front of the house during the day and swing his arm and pray. And multiple people had seen him. Multiple people had made report of it. They've caught him on EVP doing prayer, the whole bit. And apparently it was his property at one particular point in time, and he passed away. And at night, he would essentially sundown. So he would lose his lucidity. He lost all his clarity. He didn't understand why people were in his home. He didn't understand why they couldn't hear him or interact, or why they weren't listening. And he was becoming aggressive. Now, a lot of people would have screamed demon and said that it was, some kind of hell spawn. And it was an old man being, protective of his property. And we walk in, and we call him into the room that had the most activity. We call him in there by his name. And we're using Spirit Box. We've got a couple of EVPs. We're going through the gamut. Of course, we did sweeps values, made sure that we knew the hot spots as far as EMF in the room, that kind of thing, so we weren't just bullshitting ourselves.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we're not getting anything. We're not getting anywhere. We got confirmation of who it is and what's going on, but we're not getting anywhere as far as any kind of negotiation to help him cross. And finally it was, okay, pastor to pastor. So I was an ex-Methodist minister, and then Brian Gibson, another member and another founder of Spirit Mechanix, is ex-Pentecostal.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of us are standing in this room with a former member, and we literally start to church down with this guy, and everything goes silent. And all of a sudden he says, "I'm waiting for my wife. I'll leave when she's here."
Oh, wow.
And we all know, the property people know, everybody knows that his wife had actually passed before him as far as record. And we're going, oh, okay. So we go and we make sure everything is kosher around the house, make sure the property is cleansed and sealed off. Got to keep the stuff out. You don't want to just clean it up and let it come back.
Right.
And that night, we brought the family in, and at least the ones that were there at the house, we brought them in and called for his wife, called Archangel Azrael. Okay, we need a favor, bub. He's not going to go until he sees his wife, until he knows that she is safe and she has been waiting on him.
Mm-hmm.
The entire room got so hot that you could barely stand it.
Wow.
And everything went quiet. She shows up and walks over to him. They literally lead each other back to Azrael. They dip out, and there's a cold rush of air that goes straight through the room. It cools down like 10 degrees immediately, and everything in the house finally has sound.
Wow.
There was not a single dry eye in the room. All of us, big tough rednecks are just, but it was probably one of the most humbling experiences I think I've had as far as doing these kinds of things.
Wow, that's a really cool story. Do you think possibly he had dementia before he died and didn't remember that she had passed on before him?
So there's every possibility. They were turn of the century at the time, so 1900 some odd, if I remember correctly. So it's possible that he did have that going on and was never diagnosed. But there's also what we refer to as a progression of human spirit. So, the longer they're here without crossing over, the more apt they are to lose who it is that they are, especially lose touch with humanity and lose touch with the things that essentially anchor them here, because passage of time.
Right.
So an earthbound is one that's here after death. They're literally, as the name suggests, they're bound here, either by choice or by someone holding the remains in a house, or an anchor object of some kind that has some sentimentality. Then there is what we refer to, and what a lot of people in pop culture refer to as a lost spirit, which is someone that doesn't quite understand anymore. They don't quite understand that they're dead, or haven't realized that they are, died instantly and just got up from it and thought they were okay, that kind of thing. Or they begin to notice that no one's noticing them. They start to notice that they can't interact or be heard, and they start to get confused. Then you have what is this particular entity, this gentleman. It's what we refer to as a vengeful spirit if they are in more of an aggressive tone, or more towards what we also refer to as spiritual dementia, uh, which is where that confusion starts to sink in to the point where they don't understand what's real. They don't understand anything about where they're at and what they're doing. They go on routine and um, more what's safe to them, what they knew the most.
We've got some computer gremlins going on right here. We're bouncing.
Did we lose you, Sean?
Oh,
We good?
You guys are froze up.
Okay. Then I'm going to try something really quick because usually that'll help. Is that a little better?
We're having. Yeah, I'm bouncing in and out as well. So we've got some gremlins going on tonight.
Gotcha.
Definitely, for sure. It seems like when we always talk about something spiritual and get deep into something, we always got gremlins that happen and things start freezing up. It's notorious that way, for sure.
It happens all the time with us.
Yeah. There's certain lives that you'll catch that either the closed captioning freezes about 30 minutes prior to, or, comments completely stop, or just us on video freeze and we don't realize that we're frozen. It takes somebody in the comments going, hey, I hope y'all can blink.
Because and you're left with that. And you're left with that funny face. Come on.
Yeah, it's never the last one ever.
It's almost like they do it on purpose.
Yeah, it's notorious once in a while. You can't get around it. So I always call it the computer gremlins for sure. You brought up something that was really interesting there. Time. Do you think spirits have different meanings of time? Because I've also heard that there is no time after you die.
So as far as that, there's a couple different theories. And because they're theories, I subscribe to all of them because none of them have been proven.
True.
But apparently one of the newest ones, and this was interesting and new to me, is time doesn't exist, period.
I've heard that.
Yeah. According to somebody's research that did something somewhere, I don't remember the particular paper trail, but essentially the Big Bang was both the beginning and the end of everything in that moment. So everything after that is literally just everything. Essentially, you hear about having that moment where your life flashes before your eyes, and it seems as though you have a lot of time that you're focusing on different things before you pass, but literally it's been just 3 seconds. It's essentially that for what we perceive as a universe. What we're going through is the choices both made and never made in that particular moment.
Right.
So there's that theory. There's also the multiverse theory, which actually is close to being proven.
Right.
Thanks to the collider. But essentially, you have the timeline where you make a choice and the timeline where you don't. They both play out. So if they come back together and it didn't matter which choice you made, that particular event was going to happen anyway, that's when you have a deja vu. Whereas if neither one of them actually meet, that's when you get those dreams of seeing things that should happen but never do. They're very, very vivid, but it's more of a parallel, quote unquote, universe
Mhm.
uh, where certain things play out. The what if scenarios actually do play
Right.
out. And lastly is, time being cyclical. So it just comes back on itself. The life is lived and it comes back around and back around and back around. And
Mhm.
as far as spirits are concerned, I think that any and all of these things could be correct. I do know through different people's testing, different people's idea of how this works, that there is a different progression of a measurement of time for people who have passed on.
Mhm.
Um, Time happens a lot slower
Right.
when you pass
Yeah.
than it does here.
Yeah.
So,
I've kind of thought some of the same theories. Like I've been down some of those paths before and putting things together myself. And I keep an open mind about it because, like you said, this hasn't been proven yet, but there is some theory to some things when you see it happen. So it's kind of hard to actually argue that it's right or wrong, regardless. So, but yeah, we got Derek McFadden in the house from Eternal Paranormal. Hey guys, miss you
Hi.
guys too. Um, but yeah, it's interesting with time because, like I said, they always say something about the fact what is in front of you is behind you, what is above you is below you, what is to the right and to the left. And if you think in that theory, you can bring your past to your future if you don't get rid of it, like all the baggage. And then if you don't get rid of your baggage, then you don't have much of a future because you keep dragging that along. So I get the theory, the front and the back, and even the right and left, depending on how you return.
yep.
So that time frame is very interesting on how you think of that because I've seen people that got into a frame of mind that they keep bringing their past to their present, which makes their life totally miserable, and they don't get it. And if you don't change your way of thinking, it's going to stay that way.
Well, and at that point, depending on how heavy the baggage is, it can create something a lot nastier too. Emotional attachments, trauma bonds. It can really actually start impacting the spiritual side of your body as well as your physical.
Oh, most definitely. I definitely agree with that. Very, very true. Um, I know you guys work with health issues too, don't you? With helping people with health issues.
Now, yes, we do. We do wind up helping through energetic means and
Okay.
through minor counseling means, different things like that. Uh,
Okay.
None of us are licensed clinicians. We're not licensed therapists.
Right.
So, just throwing that out there.
Right.
Uh, but what
But
we,
but from an energy standpoint and a spiritual standpoint, you work with them. Yes.
yes, we do different forms of energetic alchemy, Reiki, crystal healing. We have someone here who does tuning forks and sound bowls, so sound
Mm,
therapies.
yeah.
Um, we do a little bit of herbalism as well. So, different salves, different tinctures, things like that. Uh, we do our best to work with what we know is there. We would prefer to work with someone who has a diagnosis and is seeing these professionals. We're a supplement for that. We aren't a replacement.
Right.
Um, but yeah, we've seen some pretty interesting successes over the years. Brian himself has kept people from having to have extreme knee replacements. Um, we've helped people with different issues like vagus nerve issues and GI issues, different musculoskeletal issues. Um, a lot can be alleviated by being able to understand where energy is being pent up in the body and
Mm-hmm.
releasing that energy or diverting it to where it's actually needed. So it's a very interesting practice. Different things like acupressure, so pressure point manipulation, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as well as, like I said, Reiki, physical alchemy, different things like that. So we do our best anyway.
That's awesome. Derek says, I need a licensed therapist. LOL. I got your therapist for you, Derek. But yeah, I definitely like the fact of tuning forks, singing bowls, and frequencies. I had a Reiki master show me how to do stuff like that, and I always find it interesting to do things with that because that also helps with how I feel the energy, you know, and how we perceive it because we can actually feel it, and everything's based on a frequency,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't realize that as well.
Everything is light.
Everything's light.
Everything is light. In all honesty, that's how everything communicates is through photon. So the way that our voices carry as far as sound waves are actually converted into light. That's how the brain actually is able to interpret things and send it through the body. Um, so if you look at that and then you look at the spectrum of quote unquote spiritual sight or spiritual feeling, all it is being able to tap into that particular gift that is able to perceive that sound in a way that you typically couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, your clairs,
Mhm.
that's literally what they are. It is
Right.
just your interpretation of different energetic movements. Um, and it's usually something, everybody wants to say that a clair is 100% supernatural, and
Right.
it's really not. It's something that you have with you that you already use every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because the term clair, when you're adding it to these gifts, just means clear.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, like a clairaudient is someone who is able to hear clearly.
Right.
It's just an extra sensory thing that winds up evolving as you are able to connect to different levels of sound. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with each gift. Like
Right.
with you, you're more of a clairtangent. So you're able to actually tangibly feel energetic movements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so sensitivities are going to be a little bit stronger as far as feeling.
Right.
So different touch, different texture, different heat and cold, and different things like that. It's going to be a little bit stronger for you than it would other people. So it's just being able to be okay with your body and listen to it when it tells you things.
Most
Uh,
definitely.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
most definitely. I definitely agree with that. Um, I know I kind of freak out some people once in a while, and I'll do it in a bar once in a while when people ask me about energy, and they'll put their hand up, and they'll put their hand in the middle of my hand, and they can actually feel my energy bouncing off their hand. And then I'll tell them to put it up like this, and I'll take my hand and I'll do this, and they can actually feel me writing in the palm of their hands and moving my fingers and stuff like that. And it kind of freaks them out. And I can do that up to like 15 feet away. And some people don't realize that because you can actually project that energy that far when you have that knowledge to do that. And some people can actually feel it because, like you said, they don't have that ability to feel it. But once they do, you definitely know what's going on because it changes your life a little bit.
True. Because, I mean, out of the two of y'all, I have a totally different way that mine pops originally. I taste things first. So different frequencies taste different to me.
Mm-hmm.
You did that to me. I was wild. I remember that.
Yeah, we were on an investigation together, and I did it to him, and it freaked him out a little bit. He remembers it. Um, But yeah, you said you taste on how. Now tell me a little bit about that, because I've never heard anybody describe that.
It's so the way that you feel energy, every energy feels different. Every person feels different. Interacting with different vibrations feels different based on what it is that you're touching, interacting with your aura and with your hands. For me, that's my taste buds. So everybody has a specific taste, like a specific energetic signature. And it's not always food items. Like one of the first times that I really was able to express it, one of our team members asked me what his aura tasted like. And I told him it tasted like jazz hands and shitty 4th of July spark.
I'm not going to ask how you know that, but okay.
But it's the same way that, you can feel the different pulls and riding on with energy. It's the same way, but it just starts with my taste buds. So for instance, higher energetic, frequencies, beings, those types of things, they taste like a sinus infection because it's just so fast. It's like your face being beaten in, but specifically with a sinus infection, it's got a specific taste. So
right.
It just kind of, everyone's got a specific taste and different spirits have a different taste. But that's where I start, is I utilize a lot of breath work when I'm working with clients. So if they're having a specific type of emotional moment, what I'll have them do is take a deep breath with me. And as they exhale, I breathe in what it is that they're exhaling, so I can actually start to decipher what's going on with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're the first one I've heard that does that type, and that's very interesting. I've never
one. You don't really see people present with that one first,
right? Yeah,
so
it's definitely an interesting way of doing it, and I know we're all different, but that's the first one you're the first one I've come across that actually does it that way. And he's actually the first one that comes close to what I do all the time. So that's really interesting. And one of the other things I freak people out with, and nobody really notices it, and maybe you've done it too, but if you take your left hand and you stick it in front of your face, and you put your right hand up like this, and you blow in your hand, you can feel the wind around your fingers of your right hand.
Depending on what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So with that one, for instance, with me, it would be and then try to pull in what it is that somebody's actually experiencing.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah, I kind of freak people out with doing that too. And I always got to sit back and have a little laugh because, like I said, everybody's capable of doing it if they sit down and actually concentrate and do the meditation work. One of the ones I really like to do is actually sit in the dark and actually meditate with crystals. Yeah. And with those crystals, it heightens everything else with it because all you are is in darkness, and that's all you hear around you. And then you'll start hearing every little thing, every little pin drop. You start hearing your heartbeat and everything else. So to me, that's the best way that I like to do it, is meditate. And I'll also do it with frequencies as well. I'll pick a certain frequency and I'll start meditating with it and get it used to certain frequencies to pick up as well. And it does help tremendously. I actually help keep my neck straightened out a lot because I've got degenerative in my neck in 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'll do a little bit of energy work on it, but sometimes it does get out of hand and I have to go see one of my friends, and she is actually more of a healer. And boy, I tell you what, she actually puts the hurts to you. She'll use stones and stuff, and she'll straighten it out pretty quick. But it's when it gets that buildup of that inflammation in there after being stressed out. And we all know stress can cause many weird things in your body to happen that you don't even realize. So, but that, has there ever been a place that you've been that you're like, you walked into the property. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not going to stay here. I'm going to leave.
Yeah, I left it back in Texas.
That house.
Fair enough. Yield murder house. How do you follow that?
I definitely kind of want to see pictures of this house now, because if I ever get to Texas, I might want to go.
It's kind of where I'm at.
You know, you're just starting out and you don't really know what's going on because you don't understand yourself and you don't know where to go. And all these things are happening. And, you know, when you start reaching out, a lot of people on Etsy don't know what they're doing. So actually finding a group that does is kind of an amazing thing. And that's one of the best things about Spirit Mechanics to me. Not to be a shameless plug, but, you know.
to be a shameless plug.
It helps when you actually have people that you can go to and understand what it is that you're having happen to you and actually be able to help you through it. And then be able to explain to you why it was that you were experiencing what it was that you were in the ways that you were. So definitely wouldn't go back to that house, but, you know, I wound up here, so.
You're stuck with them there now.
Yeah, they're stuck with me.
We're weighing the scales here.
So, what about you?
I don't think I've ever been to a property that I had to leave.
I think the only reason you may have to leave is if it's physically unsafe and you could actually physically hurt yourself because of holes in the floor or nails randomly in spots. But you've been crawling in attics, you've crawled into, you know, random questionable holes in basements.
Actually, yeah, I did.
You did.
Oh, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome.
Well, the blind guy, I can't see what the fuck he's doing. Send him. It's a dark ass hole.
Now, wait a minute. That's what you're supposed to have rookies for, so you can send them as in guinea pigs. They're the sacrifices.
No, that's a blind guy.
This one just got her mechanic ship about 6 months ago, and I'm the one still crawling in holes.
It was gonna get in my hair.
I wouldn't trade it though.
No, me and him's got something in common. We got aerodynamics going for us here.
I wouldn't trade it though. There's always a need to have a healthy respect for what is there, what could be there. You know, you never want to walk in and, you know, kick someone else's door in and expect them to treat you with the utmost hospitality.
Right.
So if it's a human spirit that you're dealing with, obviously you need to have a healthy respect. Entities, apparitions, what people consider demonics, hate to tell everybody, but not everything is a demon.
I agree 100%.
But, you know, when you're dealing with them, you have to understand what it is that they're capable of. But it doesn't mean that you have to fear them. You know, it's like I tell all my students, it's kind of like walking up on a strange dog. Yeah, that dog doesn't know you from Adam or Eve and is going to bark at you because it's scared or it's protecting its space.
Right.
Or, you know, you literally jumped out of nowhere at it, at least to its knowledge. So what do? Well, if you stand there and you kind of get timid with it, it's going to obviously get more aggressive because it sees you as a threat. Because it doesn't know what you're going to do, it has to protect itself.
Right.
If you become aggressive with it, it makes it worse because then it has a reason to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
However, 9 times out of 10, especially if that dog is on a leash or in a yard, if you walk past it like it doesn't exist, what usually happens? The dog will stand there, stare at you, and wonder why you didn't stop.
Right.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. You should have a healthy respect, but no fear.
I agree.
Now, that doesn't mean roll into every place like, you should be wearing a black tap out shirt and screaming that you're going to fist fight a demon that's not there. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Provocation is not the way,
No.
but wait your turn, mind your manners. I'll be with you in a moment. That kind of stuff immediately. You have no power over me or this space. You can wait your turn.
Exactly.
That just makes me think. So you talking about that brings a specific situation to mind. Bobby Mackey's.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much everything that happened at Bobby Mackey's, but initially how we started that night out, oh, there's these awful things here. You can get hurt. Well, yeah, you can.
The places at the time, we were one of the last groups to be able to go in before it was closed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, Steve had his own experience at the beginning of the night, and I'll let you talk about that if you want, because it's hilarious.
It was funny. It was funny. Not at the time. I was pretty angry, but
I mean, one of the big bad things that people always reference that's there, we wound up playing cards with it.
literally.
Of the sensitives that was there decided that she would be okay with playing cards and letting that specific entity pick which one, and am I drawing or am I holding the hand? And we actually got some amazing evidence that night.
We did. And that bastard won most of those hands.
He did.
That's crazy. You brought up the fact that you played cards with spirits, because I was in Indiana at the Bell Mansion with Pam Harris and Mandy Metzinger from Ghost Sisters and Lori Bragg and one of my old teammates. And we were up in one of the rooms upstairs and we were playing poker, and we stuck a REM pod between us, and each one of us had a light facing us. I would be damned. That spirit told us, lit up the light of the hand that was going to win every time.
That's awesome. I love stuff like that, because I mean, you get the interaction, yes, but you're also not being disrespectful, and you're treating the space the way that it wants to be treated. Bobby Mackey's is a bar. Best thing to do is play cards and do a shot.
Which we did.
And
we wound up with some of the coolest stuff. People understand what it is that they left, and they understand the time period of which they died. They don't understand anything outside of that usually. So participate. If you're wanting actual evidence, treat spirits as if they're human, because guess what? They still are.
Yeah.
It's not difficult. Although, motherfucker in the bathroom. So
this is literally my favorite. This is one of my favorites.
We're and excuse me, because some of this is going to be TMI.
All right.
Trigger warning for people.
We got the rating going right here, so go for it.
So I have to use the restroom before we get started with anything, before they go, completely lights out. They wind up going lights out anyway. While I'm getting into the bathroom. And for those that didn't have an opportunity to go to Bobby Mackey's, the men's room was down a small hallway that kind of zigzagged back, and it's a small restroom with a stall, obviously, urinal, sink, the whole bit. Apparently there was a gentleman in this restroom that liked to throw metal trash cans at people, and by actual account, and had actually harmed a couple of patrons. They would be in there washing their hands, and all of a sudden they would get the trash can over the back of their head.
Yeah.
And nobody else in the room. And so because of that, they had to switch it to a plastic trash can. I obviously, because that is just my luck, I have to go and use the stall. Because it's a space that I'm unfamiliar with, and I wasn't able to count my steps yet, I had my sensory cane with me. So basically the blind guy click cane. And I had it with me so that I knew where I was going. I had it set up in the corner of the stall while I'm trying to love its heart use this toilet that was like a fucking mechanical bull that was well past its prime and falling apart because the whole floor of this stall was caving in. The toilet was sitting one way, the seat was going this way, and I was having to hold it all together and to my ass while I'm using the bathroom. This is happening, and I'm just sitting there with my phone light, and I hear this rumble in the corner, and I'm like, okay, well, that's them fucking around outside, or someone coming in and messing with me because we're about ready to go on an investigation, whatever.
Right.
And then I actually hear the trash can kind of moving around. I'm like, we're not right now. We are not.
Whoa.
This is not going to be a situation. I don't want any trouble, and you don't want any of what's happening in here. So everything goes quiet, and all of a sudden, my sensory cane lifts up and over the stall and is thrown across the room. I finish what I'm doing. Literally, okay. Grab my phone. I'm going to wash my fucking hands, and you're not going to touch me. Silence. I go to wash my hands. I hear this, with the trash can. I'm like, you do it. And I will become that redneck asshole that everybody likes to watch on TV. Do not do this to me. And I won't do that to you. And on the outside, actually, it was Raymond.
Yeah.
On the outside, I hear Raymond go, Steve, you okay? You all right? Do I need to come in here? Stay the fuck outside, Raymond.
I can see him doing that too.
So, I grabbed my sensory cane after washing my hands, and I'm going to leave. You're going to stay in here, and you're going to deal with what I left behind. And I walk out, and I hear the footsteps coming behind me, and as I step out of the threshold of this hallway, I stick my hand to the wall and force my energy into it and block him in. No, fucker, you deal with what you caused. So it was the single most hilarious thing. That was an altercation that I never thought I would ever have. With some jackass drunkard ghost throwing my sensory cane across a bathroom, and me having to finish taking a shit and wash my hands while trying to make sure that this asshole didn't throw a trash can at me.
Oh, damn.
Like, because we're literally standing there with the historian that walks you around and tells you that. And I come out of the bathroom, and she goes, "Oh, did he try to throw the trash can at you?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?" and she goes, "Did you have an experience? Did he try to throw the trash can at you?" And that's how we figured out the story. We had to change it to a plastic trash can because he was beating people over the head with the metal one. And I'm going, no. No, he didn't. He tried. And here's Raymond off to the side. It would only happen to you, Steve. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'm going to give a big shout out because I'm sitting here watching on my phone because I can't see messages off my personal page here. But Thomas Pachter Gormley is in the house. Thanks for stopping by. We got Angie and Shane McLean in the house. Hey, guys. Thanks for stopping in. I'm trying to keep an eye on two different screens here so I don't miss anybody. But, yeah, I can see Raymond out there hollering at you, and I've heard some stories he's told me about that place too. So it was definitely
I was so fucking angry. I was so mad.
But
The ghost is literally just laughing through the blind guy's cane. How's he gonna
Well,
get out? Like,
I've actually
Sure,
seen
you
spirits
get
knock
out.
people. I've actually seen spirits knock people down standing in the bathtub, in an old bathtub. I've seen that happen. I've seen them getting bit. I've seen them getting pushed. Yeah, I've seen things like that happen. So I think yours is falling in a different category. I don't know where to put it.
See, that's the thing, is I felt violated. Because how can you take a blind guy's eyes away and expect him to be able to wipe?
That is kind of cruel. I do gotta say that. Well, at least you got through it unscathed. At least it could have been worse.
Just my dignity. My dignity and my pride were the only things that went out that day.
So, like I said, I remember Raymond telling some good stories like that, but I think that one tops the one that Raymond's told me. So that's definitely a good one.
Jeez.
I think I would have cast that spirit somewhere else after that, especially if I felt violated.
Oh no, I left without spraying. He got to deal with my pent up frustration.
he didn't mess with anybody else that night.
He didn't.
Well, oh damn! Wow, that's definitely a good one. Well, guys, we are at the top of the hour. Is there anything you'd recommend to new teams that are starting out or just beginning?
One of the best things, take what you do seriously, of course. Don't take yourself seriously. Cut up, have fun, be yourself. Don't be that kind of person that gets lost in it. Adding your particular flavor to things is what's important. That's what's going to set you apart from literally every Tom, Dick, and Harry with an EMF meter and a camcorder.
Yeah.
The next thing is you're going to get a lot of evidence that way. People want to talk to people. Entities aren't going to pay you the time of day if you walk in, all fire and brimstone and cursing the very ground they walk on before you even get started. Does it mean that you should go in unprotected? Absolutely not. Do your stuff outside. Make sure that you got your stuff up, your talismans or whatever on, your crystals with you if you vibe with that, your prayers done, whatever. Bubble up if that's what you need to do. But while you're in there, you need to trust in yourself and you need to allow things to happen naturally. It's not for you to control. And the last thing, and this one is something that I teach all my students, and it's one of the things that I think is lacking anymore in a lot of the paranormal field, and that is hold your humility higher than your fucking ego.
Yeah.
And make sure that your integrity is intact.
Yeah.
If you tell someone to their face that you can do, or that you are, or that you will, by God, you better feel that.
Yeah, especially, there's a lot of egos in this field that they need to step down off their horse. And I wish a lot more of us would actually communicate with each other and share information, because I've said this numerous times on several shows. Something I may have or experienced, maybe a piece of the puzzle you guys have come across somewhere else, and vice versa. And it could open up a whole new batch of things to start looking for. And if we would all work together, it would be a lot better. And like I said, I always respect everybody that I talk to. I always learn something new, because when you stop learning, you might as well quit, because you're constantly learning in this field. It's always something new. It's always something different. And you always got to keep an open mind. So
100%.
So most definitely. Hello, Vanessa. I miss you too. She's from haunted happy hour. She does coffee and stuff from the Quad City area. But yeah, most definitely I agree. The egos have got to go, and I'm always willing to work with new teams. And if I'm always in the area, or if I'm in the area, or even if you're in my area, holler at me, guys. I'm always here for you guys, and you know, I'll share whatever I can and help you guys in any way as well. You know, I don't believe in you know, keeping things to myself, but I'll teach you what I know and pass on what I know, and help everybody the best I can. And you know, there's a calling for us because we help the people that don't understand, and they rely on us. And you know, there's nothing more, how do I say, respectful and being rewarded than helping somebody understand what's going on in their house and being able to help them to adapt what's going on around them, and make them feel at home in their house without having to be scared of what's going on there or anything else. So I definitely agree. And like I said, I'm going to say one thing here, guys, real quick. I'm going to bring something up. All due respect, I'm going to say one thing to you guys. My condolences here as well to Mr. Raymond Newsom. Great guy. He always helped everybody the best he could, and always had a lot of respect for him and your team as well. And, you know, I know he's watching out for all of us. So, you know,
Thank you.
He's definitely missed.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
So, and I'm sure he'll be pulling some more jokes on you in the future, because I know he's kind of a jokester sometimes. Because he was always awesome, and I always loved talking to him, and always had the most respect for him as well. And he's a great guy. So he's definitely missed, guys. And like I said, my condolences, and please share him with his family as well.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to set you guys backstage. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to close out the show here real quick with a couple commercials, and I'll talk with you backstage here in a minute.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. It was a great show. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
That was the Spirit Mechanics. They are a great group of people. I got a lot of respect for those guys. They do a lot of great work. Definitely go check them out. Check their page out. If you ever get a chance to go meet them, definitely meet them. They're really down to earth, and they can do some really cool stuff, and they work with a lot of great things. So with that in mind, I'm going to close out here real quick with a couple things. Right now, we've got the Cincinnati Con coming up. Also, check out Austin Light and his comic book. It's coming out. Go check out his website. He's an amazing artist. He does with demons and tells a great story about some of the stuff that he has written. Go check him out. He will be coming on the show in a few weeks as well. And the last thing here, July at Broadhead Manor. You don't want to miss it, guys. Here we go.
Brace yourself for the Paranormal Rockdown, July 18th and 19th, 2025 at the Haunted Broadhead Manor. Friday night rock out with Dead Amsterdam, Left on Red, and headliner Green Jelly. The music may not be the only thing shaking these walls. Rumor has it the spirits love a good beat. Will you meet one? Saturday, meet paranormal legends like Dave Schrader, Sam Baltrusis, and more. Enjoy thrilling workshops, tasty treats, and a live Zoom Q&A with Dustin Perry. Dive into the ultimate paranormal investigation with expert guides. Or join a spine-tingling seance with Sam Baltrusis. Tickets are limited. Get yours now for an unforgettable weekend of music, mystery, and chills.
Yeah, definitely go check out the Paranormal Rock down in Broadhaven Manor. I will definitely be in the crowd walking around. And one last thing, this Sunday, I will have Chris O'Toole on the show, and we'll be discussing anything paranormal as well. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll catch you on Thursday night with Paranormal Surge and Sunday on another episode of the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal. Have a great night, guys. I'm out of here.